I could go on for about a 20-minute rant if I wanted to, but I'm going to keep it as short and simple as I can. Disaster. Complete disaster. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Hitting for the Cycle. I'm your host, Ben Kruse, alongside my co-host, Ryan Touhey. Ryan, we're officially now 1 week into the 2025-2026 baseball season. So, my friend, how are we doing today?
I'm doing all right. It's been quite a busy week for just the first week of the long baseball season. A lot of stories to cover.
Yeah, before obviously we get to all those things, make sure to follow us at Hitting for the Cycle down here on the ticker bar below on the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network. Make sure to follow us, to subscribe to the Empty the Bench podcast network on YouTube. Follow Ryan Touhey at R2E97. Follow me at BenKruse144 via RX. Also, make sure to follow us on YouTube.com/ETB Network. Also, to make sure to listen to the Hitting for the Cycle wherever you get your podcast, and also on our socials. Make sure to look at Hitting for the Cycle presented by Playback. Really quickly, speaking of Playback, we are now tied in with Playback for MLB games. So if you guys obviously want to see us in terms of us on Playback, make sure to make an account, and we are going to be having games fairly soon on Playback, me, Ryan, and others. So really exciting stuff for Playback and for baseball. So speaking of our show in baseball, Ryan, like I said, we're fairly 1 week now into the season, so we're going to have a quick opening week recap. So really quickly, for your Yankees, Ryan, the Yankees currently now are 3-2 on the season. They absolutely walloped the Milwaukee Brewers via a sweep to open up the season. And, obviously there's a little bit of controversy, which we'll talk about in our Substack. But, I mean, you, my friend, obviously you guys had a hell of a weekend to kick off the 2025 weekend. I predicted, I believe, that you guys were going to take 2 of 3. And I think you also predicted, I believe, 2 of 3. But I don't know specifically it was in the matter of factor of this. I mean, I kind of coming into the season, our predictions that the Brewers are going to be a team to watch out for specifically. They all just kind of find a way to, pitching wise, it's kind of like the Rays of the NL. I mean, granted, yeah, it's early, but they lost, Burns. They obviously haven't had Brandon Woodruff yet pitch. It's really just been Freddie Peralta and others, and the Yankees really took it to them. Obviously, in the first game, it was close. Devin Williams definitely gave you guys a sweat his debut. He obviously, unfortunately, hasn't pitched yet then because congrats to him. He currently, his wife is given a child. And then the Yankees absolutely, against your old friend Nestor Cortez on Saturday, put an absolute statement to Nestor saying, yeah, you want to come back now? His debut, poor Nestor. Nestor, the last 4 pitches, this is obviously now including back from the Game 1 Grand Slam to Freddie Freeman in the World Series last year. He gave up the first 3 pitches of the game. I mean, Ryan, I don't know even the last time that's happened. And I was actually at work when I saw specifically, this news kind of dropped. I said, wait, all right, so Goldschmidt hit a homer, cool. Bellinger hit a homer, cool. And then Judge hit a homer. Wait. I got to see specifically, back to back, of course, that's common. But I didn't realize it was on the first 3 pitches of the game. So, man, talk about specifically making a statement. Yankees obviously put a statement on Saturday, and they put another 10-plus run spot on Sunday. And, obviously Jazz and Judge obviously had some big days as well as Volpe. So, Yankees, very good weekend against the Brewers. Now they're currently in a week series against the Diamondbacks. And they suffered their first loss on Monday against the D-backs by a final score of
75 on Tuesday.
This was on Tuesday. I'm sorry, Ryan. Thank you. I'm trying to look it on my MLB Yeah, the D-backs beat the Yankees 7-5 on Tuesday. Mark Leiter Jr. unfortunately gave up a grand slam in the eighth inning to Eugenio Suarez. D-backs put a 5 spot, and they were able to shut it down after. And then to a masterful piece of Zach Gallen last night. He pretty much cooled the Yankees' bats. I know that Volpe obviously hit the three-run homer in the bottom of the ninth. They made it definitely a game, but the D-backs really held on 4-3. So now the Yankees are having a rubber match to go on tonight with Carlos Carrasco, Cookie Carrasco on the bump. We'll be taking on Merrill Kelly for the D-backs. So Ryan, obviously before we get into my Red Sox, a little recap from coming into now today. How do you feel about your baseball club? What's the good? What's the bad? Tell me all about it.
Well, it was definitely a bizarre weekend to start the season. I never saw an opening weekend quite like that before. I mean, Saturday's game was just ridiculous. Like you mentioned, 3 straight home runs on the first 3 pitches of the game off your ex-teammates. I did not expect the Yankees to start a game like that necessarily, and that was the first time in baseball history that happened. The Yankees also set a franchise record by hitting 9 home runs alone in that game on Saturday. The Yankees won that game by a score of 20-9. So it was just a really, really crazy weekend for the Yankees. And like you mentioned, they just kept bashing the Brewers' brains in on Sunday. They blew them out again by beating them by a score of 12-3. I was actually at that game on Sunday. So that was very nice to see. I was freezing my tail off, though. It was freezing cold. It's Sunday afternoon.
Hey, you're back in a baseball stadium. Must have felt great.
Yeah, that was the earliest regular season game I've ever been to in my life. And I might keep it that way. I usually like going when it's warmer, but anyways, yeah. In terms of the Yankees, I think there's a couple of things that stood out to me. Number one, they still have capable hitters, even losing Juan Soto. I do like the top 3 of the order of Goldschmidt, Bellinger, and Judge. The Yankees are going to need those guys, obviously, to produce in order for them to succeed this year from an offensive standpoint. Anthony Volpe, it looks like he's gained some power this year. I think he's got 4 home runs already, if I'm not mistaken. So, Volpe has turned on the power. Jazz got off to a very nice start over the weekend against the Brewers. He hit a couple of home runs. He hit 2 on Sunday's game in Sunday's win. So, some guys got off to good starts. Some bads that I saw or that I've seen so far. Number one, this team still cannot play defense. They made 5 errors in Saturday's win. I mean, granted, 2 were by Pablo Reyes, who I expect to be DFA'd at some point this season. So,
My God.
Yeah, I don't see him lasting the whole season with the Yankees. I expect him to be cut sometime in May or June at the latest. So, there was that. But, Volpe made an error and Jazz made an error. Volpe and Jazz, for the most part, I think are solid defenders, but they're still prone to making errors here and there. And it seems like they make them at the worst possible time. I mean, Volpe obviously made it in the World Series. He had the second error of that 5th inning in the World Series last year, right after Judge. Granted, that was kind of a tougher play than Judge's, but still, like in big games like that, you can't make an error. It's going to come back and cost you. There was another game in Baltimore at the last summer in July, the last game before the All-Star break, where Volpe dropped an easy routine ground ball that would have ended the game. And that prolonged the inning for Cedric Mullins, who hit that fly ball over the head of Verdugo, who tripped over his shoelaces. So it's just stuff like that where you have to play fundamentally sound defense. And Volpe, like I said, I think Volpe's a good shortstop, but he needs to really clean up some of these errors here. I think he still makes a little too many. I think he makes just too many errors, and they come at the worst time. And if you continue to do that, it's going to come back and cost you. So, I really want the Yankees to just clean up the slop. You can't keep doing this. I know that, I think that was the only game so far that they've played this year where they have made errors. They've played 5 of the 6 games so far 4 of the 5 games that they've played this season. I don't think they have made an error. So, I try and look at it from that perspective, but still, like 5 errors a game, like, come on, like, what are we doing here? And, that was that. And another thing that kind of stood out to me over the weekend from a bad perspective is that this team really struggles hitting a curveball. Yesterday against Zach Gallen, the Yankees had absolutely no shot. They had no idea what they were doing up against Gallen. He was just carving them up like a turkey, and the Yankees just had no response for him. And I know Volpe again hit a home run, but that came in the ninth inning. And I mean, it brought them within one run, but they didn't come all the way back. So the Yankees, the Diamondbacks threw out their top three pitchers against them this series. I mean, they started. Corbin Burns made his season debut against the Yankees in Game 4. And I was like, why are we getting him? Why are we getting him? We shouldn't be facing him. He should have pitched already. But of course,
Right.
Corbin Burns has his own little routine that he didn't want to disrupt. So I was like, you got to be kidding me.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, he's very strict with his routine. He's kind of like Garrett Cole in that sense, where he doesn't like having his routine interrupted by anything. So he didn't make his
I was like, why was he not pitching in the first opening weekend? Like they rolled out Gallen and they rolled out they're not Fott, right? Somebody else, but
I don't know.
Burns is not even the opening day weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was what it was. The Yankees actually didn't do too bad against Burns. They had more trouble with Gallen, much more trouble with Gallen than they had Burns. I mean, and also the Yankees bullpen. Like you mentioned, Mark Leiter Jr. giving up a grand slam. There were too many losses like that for the Yankees last year where they failed to hold on to a lead late in games. I mean, most of it was Clay Holmes' fault, and I know he's on the Mets now, but still, like, if you want to go all the way, you want to win the World Series, you got to hold down these leads. There's too many late inning blown leads the Yankees had last year. The Yankees should have won more games than they did. A lot of people, I think, forget that. The Yankees, I know, had the best record in the American League. They could have had maybe an identical record like the Dodgers did last year, and maybe they could have had home field advantage in the World Series if they just won a couple more of these games. And playing 4 games in the World Series against the Dodgers, that's significant. And in Los Angeles, I meant to say, but yeah, I mean, the Yankees are, I think will be fine. They're we kind of got a dose of reality. Like, we were killing the Brewers all week and like, yes, this is going to be us all year. And then you realize there are other teams and there are other players and tougher pitchers to face. So it's kind of a dose of reality. Like, all right, let's just calm down here. It was 3 games. It was 1 series. You guys got enough. You guys got plenty more series coming up. So there was some good, there was some bad. There were going to be ebbs and flows throughout the year, like any other team, like any other season. But I'm still seeing some of the same things that I saw last year, and I hope the Yankees fix them.
Yeah, I think that was pretty much spot on. I will say offensively, right? I mean, the new guys you guys brought in, Bellinger, Goldschmidt. I mean, like you mentioned, the Yankees offense should be okay without Juan Soto. Granted, it's only still 6 games. And you, at least so far, I mean, the Brewers obviously will probably have decent pitching, but the D-backs are going to be potentially a team that could be a force to be reckoned with all year. Like you said, the Yankees kind of got a little bit of a daily taste of their own medicine. Granted, it's still early, it's April. I think that the Yankees hit a couple balls yesterday that, maybe on a summer day possibly went out, but, Yankees are 3-2, I think you'll take it. I guess I'd say 5 or 6 games in because it's still granted very early. Over to my Red Sox. I picked my Red Sox, obviously, to open up the weekend. 3 out of 4 to win. Well, it was the other way around. Obviously, opening day was great. Willie Abreu, who didn't have much spring, has been granted probably our best hitter, at least kind of so far kick off this overall season. Had 2 homers, including a go-ahead 3-run homer in the top of the 9th inning. Justin Slayton be able to get the save. 5-2 Sox. Friday, Jack Leiter came in, and Jack Leiter is a stud. He just absolutely just carving us, like you mentioned with Gallen. Leiter absolutely carved us up on Friday. We had 8 hits. We had a bunch of guys on it. Ryan, I don't want to bring this back, but it was reminiscent of the 2023 Yankees, which they had so many guys on base, and I'm like, get these guys in. They had a hard time all weekend just getting these guys in because they had 8 hits. Like they were hitting the ball. They were able to get guys in consistently. Tanner Houck pitched. I thought he was pitching okay. Kept him in the game. Did go up 2 homers to Jonah Heim. Jonah Heim is, I guess, getting good again, which kind of annoying, but it's what it is. Sox lost 4-3 Saturday. Walker Buehler, I thought it was okay outing for his first one. Kept him in the game, similar to, I would say, to Tanner Houck. Similar to Friday. Had a bunch of guys on base. Kristian Campbell has been also one of our We'll talk about Campbell a little bit later on the show, but Kristian Campbell has shown an absolute great showing as a rookie so far. Hit his first homer of his MLB career on Saturday, but it wasn't enough. Chris Martin, our old friend, was absolutely carving us up. Texas wins 4-3 Saturday. Sunday comes around. Jacob deGrom's on the bump, and yeah, Jacob deGrom absolutely carved us up even more. Dick
like
Fitz,
DeGrom.
Richard Fitz, pitched pretty well on Sunday. Granted, he was in a couple jams. It could have been a lot worse. But Texas was kind of similar to the Sox at times, in which they had a bunch of guys on base, but they didn't take advantage of it. But a frustrating series, I'd say, to open it up for the Sox, because I thought the pitching next wasn't too bad, but the hitting overall, just a bunch of guys were in absolute slumps, including my guy Rafi, which we'll talk about later on in the program, because yeesh. All right, so then they go to Baltimore. Baltimore's home opener on Monday. Sean Newcomb definitely is not going to be in the rotation the rest of the season, I think, for much longer. He wasn't great at all. He gave up a 4 spot in the first inning, and Baltimore really never looked back. The Sox kind of made it a game, I guess later on in the game, but giving 4 spot right away to a team like Baltimore, it's not a good recipe for success. 8-5 Baltimore. Sox go down to 1-4. So couldn't have been any more better. The Sox need an off day. They get their ace, Garrett Crotchet, on the bump. And man, Garrett Crotchet, a new guy, a new money man, and he delivered. Garrett Crotchet went 8 innings for the Sox last night. 4 hits, no runs, no earned runs, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts. This is very similar like to Garrett Cole for the Red Sox specifically standpoint. A guy specifically that you're on a losing streak. You got to go in and shove against a very, very good offense for the Orioles, even without Connor Henderson. And he was fantastic. And Rafael Devers, the long-awaited nightmare is over. Sox go to 2-4. And we have another one today in the afternoon. For some odd reason, we're playing a lot of afternoon early games so far in the season, which is kind of annoying. But we got Tanner Houck against Charlie Moore and Uncle Charlie today. So hopefully we can win that series. So that's the Red Sox report kind of coming in. Around the league really quick, Ryan, any other type of thing that really stood out to you? I know obviously the Braves have not won a game yet. And the New York Mets, your team from the other side of the borough, they're 3-3. So that's kind of that.
I mean, we'll kind of go more into detail. But actually, if there were a few things that stood out to me, number one, the Seattle Mariners still cannot hit to save their life. I just wanted to point that out there because I went on that rant on them a couple of weeks ago before the season began. And my point stands still. They still cannot figure out how to hit. They only got 1 hit in the second game of their series against the Tigers.
Oh my God.
They made Casey Mize look like Roger Clemens.
All right, so we can keep going on and on, but we have to get into our next topic here. Jurickson Profar. Speaking of the Braves, not only they've gone on to a winless start so far, but one of their top hitters now is suspended for 80 games due to PEDs. Right. So Ryan, if you want to kind of talk more about this, by all means, go ahead.
Yes, so this news broke on Sunday, I believe, or Monday, at the beginning of the week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm reading this off of ESPN's website. This article was written by Aiden Gonzalez. And according to Gonzalez, like you mentioned, Jurickson Profar, the Braves' biggest offseason acquisition, has been suspended for 80 games due to testing positive for a PED drug called chorionic gonadotropin. I think that's how you pronounce it. The gonadotropin, take that with a grain of salt. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. And this could not have come at a worse time for the Braves when they are just falling flat on their faces right now to begin the 2025 season. The Braves, in the statement, said that they were extremely surprised and disappointed by this, and they said, "We fully support the program and are hopeful that Jurickson will learn from this experience." And Jurickson, as any Major League Baseball player does, gave a statement after he received the suspension, basically saying he would never knowingly or willingly take a performance-enhancing drug. So, any Major League Baseball player would basically say the same thing. I'm not going to jump to assumptions as to whether or not Profar knew what he was doing when he took this stuff. But, at the end of the day, it's going to hurt him and it's going to hurt the Braves. I mean, right now, Profar, like I said, he's suspended for 80 games, which means that he's not going to be able to rejoin the Braves until June, so around the summer. So that's going to be 2 months with about 2.5 months without him. And in addition to that, if the Braves start to turn things around, and they go on and they make a run for the playoffs and they eventually qualify for the playoffs, he's not going to be able to participate in the playoffs for them. So it's a big blow to Profar for this season, and it's a big blow to the Braves this season. And like you mentioned, the Braves could not have gone off to a worse start this year. I mean, they had a brutal way to start the year with 3-game sets in San Diego and Los Angeles, and just got swept right out of both places. Actually, I think it may have been a 4-game set in San Diego. I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, 4 games in San Diego. So the Braves are off to an 0-7 start. And the Braves are still a very depleted team. They're still waiting for their guys from last year to come back from injuries. Ronald Acuna is not expected to be back until, I believe, May. Or later this month, late April or early May. Spencer Strider, I think, is expected to be around the same time as Acuna. I think those guys are supposed to come back around that time. But the Braves hitting has been dreadful. They are not scoring any runs. And the way they lost on the final game in Los Angeles on a walk-off home run by guess who? Shohei Ohtani.
On his bobblehead night, for all.
Yeah, on his bobblehead night, of course he did. The Braves pulled a Yankees. They blew a 5-0 lead to the Dodgers. Joined the club. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So I think they blew a 5-0 lead. But
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, but regardless, it's it couldn't have gone off to a worse start this season for the Braves. Like I said, they're 0-7 to start the year, and the last time they started a season on a winless streak like this was 2016, and that was not a good Braves team. That was before Acuna came, and they were still a few years away from returning to contention. So, with the Braves, I mean, it's still early. If you want to look at the positives, it's only the first week of the season. There's still plenty of more season to go. But my God, man, I can only imagine the morale had just taken a hit, and now you're without Profar at the beginning of the year. I mean, first of all, look, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to make assumptions. I don't know whether or not Profar intended to do what he did. But, shame on you. That's all I can really say. You got to know better. You got to be responsible. You got to be held accountable for your actions. And like I said, you hurt yourself. You're going to hurt your team too. So, this is a lesson for Jurickson Profar, and I'm sure he'll learn from it. But yeah, I mean, this season might be over for the Braves before it even really started. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I think the Braves can turn it around. I'm not going to jump on the bandwagon that, that their season's over or anything like that. But first, you got to get a win. One win can really just boost the morale and just give these guys maybe a little bit of a confidence boost. When you're starting out a season winless like this, it can just suck the life out of you. And I know the Braves are too talented of a team to to start a season out like this. But that may just be how good the quality of the teams of the Padres and the Dodgers are this year. I mean, the Dodgers might be one of this Dodger team could maybe at the end of the year, seeing how things shape up, could be considered one of the greatest baseball teams in history. So we'll see what happens. But regardless, it's not good at all, and it's just disappointing more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, talk about not only a tough start for the Braves, but just a tough impression for Profar. You come in from another organization to hopefully help out a team like the Braves, and to get suspended 80 games for PEDs, of course. Unfortunately, this is something that's common with players. Over the course of the last couple of years, is people just do stupid shit, and I mean, for him, like you mentioned, he just got to be accountable for your actions, and you got to face the consequences, specifically if you're going to do actions like this, right? So. I hope that he comes back and he learns from it and he does better from it, because Profar, when he's ready to go, he's a very good player. So we'll have to see specifically if the Braves are going to be in a position where they're ready to get themselves going and get started. I think, Ryan, maybe one thing for the Braves possibly to get their first win is just get behind their own fans. Sometimes that might just be something like that. I mean, they've gone into 2 really tough environments. I mean, that's obviously not an excuse for them. I mean, they went into San Diego and they went into the Dodgers, 2 teams specifically that could be possibly NLCS, right? When you look at it in terms of at least talent-wise. So, I mean, we also talked about it too last year, Ryan, in which the Houston Astros, right, in which the first April and May, they looked like a team that was completely dead. But I told myself, I'm like, they have the veteran experience, they got the championship pedigree. Just we'll see what happens. And boom, the second half of the season, we looked back and we laughed at each other, saying, like, remember we were like, predicting all that stuff. So, as tough it is as it is, it's 0-7. It's still completely still around the season. Yeah, it's not a great start to the year at all for them. And I think there's been a stat out there that 0-8 teams, 0-7 teams have not made the playoffs. So heck, we never know. But just talk about a team, for instance, like Houston last year. Atlanta has a ton of championship pedigree and playoff pedigree that we obviously can't count them out. But I mean, obviously, news like this just doesn't help them at all.
Yep.
So, and what also doesn't help my team at all is Rafael Devers having arguably probably one of the toughest starts. I mean, for any baseball player, but for him specifically, a guy that has been arguably one of the toughest hitters, out there to get out. Um, you know, I, I could go on for about a 20-minute rant if I wanted to, but I'm going to keep it as short and simple as I can. Disaster, complete disaster. The guy wasn't ready to go via spring training. And obviously bringing Alex Bregman, I think it's going to help us specifically, but he has not done any favors for himself. I have actually a clip really quick that I took a screenshot of that I want to hope you guys can see it right here. This is kind of coming from the opposite side. So the picture specifically at Fenway Park is from last year, and the picture next to it specifically is from Texas from this past weekend. You could take a look right where that front foot in his load, that front foot is a lot higher and it's ready to go, and the hands are a lot better right there. I was seeing that specifically from Harold Reynolds yesterday because a lot of people are talking, what the hell is going on here? Completely the one things I can fix, and we could talk about in terms of Rafi finally getting off that hitless snide yesterday, finally. But his load seems a little bit late right now, and his hands aren't ready to go. Well, I do think that there were some signs that I saw from Sunday against Felix Bautista, actually, granted enough, because he hasn't been chasing, right? He's been swinging at a lot of fastballs, though, right down the middle. And that's just something you just never see specifically from Rafi. Rafi, specifically, when he is timed up, those fastballs specifically are absolutely crushed. But unfortunately, it set a strikeout record. He went over 20. Well, yeah, it was over 20, obviously, before going in that 2 hits yesterday. He had 14, 15 strikeouts. 75% of his at-bats were strikeouts. I just couldn't take the trade Rafi stuff. This guy's a bum. I needed to see the hits finally go down because enough's enough. Of course he didn't help himself. But yeah, I had to put this over on the show today. It sucks. But I know for a fact that there's anybody that's going to get their season around, it's Rafi. And of course, he got 2 hits. Red Sox won last night. So yeah, season starts tonight.
Yeah, well, it was just bizarre. I did not see that coming.
I think we all were like, "What the hell?" Like,
you know me. I dreaded when the Yankees had to face Rafael Devers. He's basically filled in David Ortiz's shoes as the new perennial Yankee killer. It just came out of nowhere. So, when you showed me that pic comparing the side by side of him from last year to this year, that partially, I think, does explain what's been going on. Maybe part of it is also mental. There's also mental capacity too when it comes to hitting. And I don't think Rafi's headspace was in the game. I think it may have been elsewhere, especially over the weekend against Texas. I just don't think he was completely focused, and I think he was just letting other things get in the way. And, it happens at times, even to the best of hitters. But, Devers is too good of a hitter to go through a season not getting hits on a daily basis. And, this might getting 2 hits last night might help him get going. I think he will get going at some point this year. I'm not necessarily worried about that.
Right.
Maybe just put a picture of Garrett Cole in his locker or something like that for motivation. Maybe that'll wake him up a little bit more. I don't know.
Oh, I think another thing too, Ryan, and I talked about this. The at-bats definitely from Sunday, even though he wasn't getting results, looked a lot better. He was falling back a lot of pitches, which was great because I think the first couple games, I mean, he just could not any type of pitch. He wasn't fouling back. He was just swinging through it, swinging at bad pitches. But from game 1 to now game 7, I think today, from game, I'd say 5 till now, it's completely kind of back to normal Rafi. You saw the smile after the double he had yesterday. I was like, yeah, that's Rafi that I know. So, but yeah, very bizarre start. This is like Aaron Judge last year did not have much spring. And I was looking at Fangraphs yesterday, Ryan, because I wanted to see specifically. I just needed something to cope about. Aaron Judge had a 207 batting average in March and April without spring training, in terms of having enough reps. And you see how Aaron Judge is doing right now, just absolutely tearing the cover off the ball. So I just think specifically that he came out of shape, which was one, which sucked. 2, he did not enough spring, and 3, the picture that I show. Those are at least 3 things that I'm just like, because like you said, he's too good of a hitter. And the second hit I think was a lot better than honestly than the first hit because it was a fastball and he went opposite field specifically. I think it was against the lefty as well too. So as tough as it was to see for Rafi, I mean, if anything, you might as well just get all the crap out early on and now, and just it's like you have a flat tire right on your car, and it's just like I'm trying to get specifically any type of fixture has been kind of going on and on and on for weeks, and then you finally just kind of get over that ledge, and boom, you're off and ready to go. So I don't know. It sucked. But hopefully those 2 hits at least feels a little bit better to kind of get out the schneid and for Rafi to have another great year for the team. So that was that. Hitting for the Cycle is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/CTB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show. We have some extensions to do. Garrett, Crotchet, Jackson Merrill, and Ketel Marte. I guess it was a day of extensions yesterday, Ryan. So if you want to get into the Jackson Merrill and Ketel Marte stuff, then I'll get into the Garrett Crochet stuff by all means. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Orioles, holy Moses, the Padres. The Padres extended Jackson Merrill yesterday to a hold on, I'm just looking at here. So they have agreed terms. It's a 9-year, $135 million contract extension, and this pact includes a $30 million club option for a 10th season, and that can be converted into a player option. And this was according to Fanside. However, I'm reading this off of CBS Sports by Diane Perry. So in total, Merrill's contract could reach $204 million if you include those. If you include the 10th season option. So it looks like the Padres are looking to continue to build a foundation, and Jackson Merrill obviously is very young. He just made his debut in 2024, so this is his sophomore season, and he really took the league by storm last year. He had a great year last year. In his rookie year, he hit 24 home runs and scored drove in 90 runs, hit 292. So he could be somebody that the Padres could lean on for the foreseeable future. And Merrill is only 21 years old, so I think this is a very good deal for the Padres. I think they made a very good deal for themselves. And in terms of Ketel Marte, Marte is one of the faces of the Arizona Diamondbacks. He is he is the longest tenured Diamondback. So it's not surprising that the Diamondbacks extended him. He's always been a very solid ball player, but this contract extension goes through 2031. So this is a $116.5 million contract extension for the Diamondbacks. And Marte, like I said, always been a solid ball player. Can hit a little. He can hit. He can field. So I think both of these teams definitely got some key cornerstone players for their respective futures. So it's a good deal for both teams. Good deals for both teams.
Yeah, Jackson Merrill is a stud. Absolutely love him from his game afar. I remember the Padres played us last year at Fenway for a series, and the guy just I feel like could not get out. He's a young kid, plays the game hard. I obviously as a lefty hitter myself, just he could hit all fields, and he plays with some swag as well too. He really just embarks that San Diego culture. I'd say a lot because they have just a certain type of swag over there. Of course, Tatis and Manny and stuff, and Merrill's just another kid, and I think he's going to be really good for the long term there. So great job by AJ Preller and company to get a deal done because his value is just going to keep on getting higher and higher, as time goes on. For Ketel Marte, I'm not surprised also. I mean, this is a guy like you talked about. This is a cornerstone piece for the D-backs. Granted, frankly enough, it's from two NL West teams, for those two guys. So D-backs are going to be pretty much set for a long term. I mean, Ketel Marte is obviously going to be part of it. And, now it'll just be the matter of, hopefully keeping some of their pitching staff around. I know Gallen's obviously going to be a free agent after this year. And, some other guys too, but really two big time pieces there that got finished up, and our ace is now completely under the books for the long term also. So I talked about Garrett Crotchet and the his great outing that he had yesterday, but it was broken actually on the off day in which we needed something positive to get going because Sox were 1-4. People you said we needed to have an off day. So our front office said, well, we'll give you a little treat. And that was Garrett Crotchet and the Boston Red Sox were in agreement on a 6-year, $170 million contract extension. Sources told ESPN. The deal starts in 2026, so Crochet actually had 2 years under control before this extension kind of kicked in, and it'll include an opt-out after 2030, which is fine. And it's by far the largest deal out of every pitcher for 4 years plus of service. This I know for a fact for myself, I was big on the Max Fried train, right, in the off season. But Garrett Crochet's ceiling, I feel personally right now as a younger kid, I think that his ceiling's higher. I like Fried a lot. Don't get me wrong. I think Fried's one of the best pitchers in the game. But Crochet really kind of, as a young kid, he's like 25, 26. He really hasn't pitched a lot as a starter consistently yet. Last year for an absolute dreadful White Sox team, had one of the highest K per nines via Fangraphs. Last year for an absolute dreadful White Sox team. This guy's ceiling is absolutely, out of the roof. A lot of people are talking about it very similar like to Chris Sale in terms of the Red Sox just having that bona fide horse, which I can see the compliment here and there. I think potentially Garrett Crochet's stuff could be even better by the end of his career than Chris Sale. No, nothing to take away from Chris though. But I think out of all of the three of them, and I'm a little bit biased here, the Garrett Crochet extension, I think is the biggest out of the three. I think Merrill's obviously is very good. Marte's is obviously very good. But the Red Sox got this guy specifically for a trade they had to move on from one of their biggest top prospects, Kyle Teal, right? So, they're only going to get Crochet for 2 years, and the White Sox obviously going to have a very long future. Well, Crochet now is going to be the Red Sox ace. The Red Sox have needed an ace for a long period of time. And Ryan, they're not going to have to worry about having the bona fide ace for foreseeable future because Crochet is now locked up.
Yeah, it's a good deal for the Red Sox, obviously. And, Crochet really came into his own last year with the White Sox. and he has just taken the American League and baseball by storm, really. He just has some nasty, nasty heat. And, like you said, he's only 25, 26 years old, I think, right now. So he's got a lot of years still in his prime. And it's a good deal for the Red Sox. The fact that they were able to get this deal under, I'm trying to remember, was it $100 million? Did they get? Was it under $100 million? This extension? I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, or maybe just a little over
170, under 200.
170, under 200. That's what I was thinking. That's still very good. The Red Sox got themselves a very good deal, and Crotchet's a hell of a pitcher, and he's going to be a thorn in our side for years to come as a Yankee fan, no doubt about it.
Chris Sale 2.0 coming your guys' way, I guess, soon. We're going to get into the next section with Kristian Campbell. Campbell, obviously, on a 8 years, $60 million. That includes 2 club options. Campbell, obviously, he's a rookie, right? And I'm very excited for this. Campbell, obviously, and our core 3, right? He needed to. Obviously, he came in and he was going to be somebody that really broke onto the scene for the first weekend, and he's done that.
Yeah, Campbell is one of your guys' bright future prospects, and he made his debut over the weekend against the Rangers, hit his first major league home run over the weekend. And the Red Sox have high hopes for this kid. And, the Red Sox are just building a nucleus, a core, and he's a part of that. He's going to be joining the likes of Ceddanne Rafaela and now Garrett Crochet. I know Crochet wasn't a homegrown prospect, but you can see the Red Sox have a plan for the future. They're trying to bring this team. They want some consistency. That's basically what they're looking to do. The Red Sox have had a revolving door on their roster, really, ever since they won the World Series in 2018. Beginning after that year, it's just been like guys have just been leaving the door like one season after another. And the Red Sox fans base has obviously never forgiven the ownership for trading Mookie Betts, and the ownership is trying to ensure that they don't do something like that ever again. So they're trying to lock these guys up with many years of prime still ahead of them. So that's basically what they're doing. And Campbell, he's received high praise from scouts and from a big league and from people in the major leagues. They think this kid has the potential to be a perennial all-star for years to come. So I could see, Campbell being a solid ball player. I don't know. I don't know him as well as you do because you're a Red Sox fan, obviously. But from what I've seen so far, there's a lot to like for what you see from Campbell. So, congratulations to him and the Red Sox.
Yeah, I'm really excited. And we got him on a very dirt cheap deal as well, too. Just looking at the overall contract terms specifically, and I think I sent it to you specifically off air. But this is a very similar Jackson Chourio, if you remember him from the Brewers. They got him, I think, locked long term last year. But starting in, he has a $2 million bonus. So from 2025 to 2032 run. So from 2025, $1 million. 2026, $2 million, 2027, $3 million, 2028, $4 million, 2029, $6 million, 2030, $9 million, 2031, $13 million, 2032, $16 million. So he's going to be for 8 years specifically. It's a steal, right? And you're going to get this kid for the long term, and he's going to have 2 years of club control. So you're going to have him for the next 10 years. And the front office, I got to give him a lot of credit for. They've made this offseason for the Red Sox now and so close enough to an A+. There's really no things that I lose from the front office side that I can physically complain about. And this has been kind of the first year I've been able to kind of say that in a while. They addressed the righty bat, and that was Alex Bregman. And I brought in Nason specifically at Grant enough for prospects and Garrett Crochet. And you extended Crochet out of all of it. And you also extended one of your top 3 prospects to an absolute dirt cheap of a deal. So all things considered, very impressed for Kristian Campbell. All right, so we're going to get into the who's hot and who's not segment of this. So this is something specifically that we're going to try out this season. Basically, Ryan, I talked to you off air about this. It's basically every single week we're going to have one player that's going to be who's hot and then who's not kind of coming in. So, for instance, right, who's hot so far coming in? For me, I'm going to go with Kyle Tucker from the Chicago Cubs. I mean, the guy has 4 or 5 home runs. I mean, granted, a couple of them have been from a minor league ballpark with the A's, which, by the way, Ryan, I don't know if you know it's seen, but that ball has just been absolutely just been flying out of that park.
Yep.
But I picked the Cubs in my preseason to go to the World Series, and they're 5-4 right now. But guys like Seiya Suzuki and Kyle Tucker have really been kind of carrying their load right now. Tucker right now has a 324 average, 4 homers, 11 RBIs, and 10 runs hit. So he's made obviously a great impression so far for the Cubs. Who's not? Well, Rafi, I'm going to probably have you for the first time only for the who's not, because he could not been any more from, he couldn't hit the side of the barn, if anything. He got his first 2 hits. He was 0 for 19, 0 for 20 kind of start the year, and just a really, really tough start. So for me, Kyle Tucker for the who's hot, and for who's not, it was Rafi for the week. So how about you, Ryan? Who's your who's hot and who's your who's not?
So for my who's hot, let's see. Have you ever heard of the legend Jake Mangum?
From the Rays, right?
From the Rays, yes.
Yes.
Oh boy, what a sizzling hot start this kid got off to. Not even a kid, he's 29 years old, but he made his debut this year. He just went on an absolute tear in the Rays series against the Pirates. He in the first game against the Pirates on March 31st, Mangum went 4 for 4 with a double and drove in 2 runs. And then the following day, on April 1st, he went 3 for 4 with another 2 ribbies. And at the time of this recording, currently, like I said, it's very early, but still, what a start this guy has had. He's hitting .533, and he has 4 runs batted in. As the Rays are off to a nice start, 4-2 to start their 2025 campaign, taking a liking to Steinbrenner Field in the early part of the year. And yeah, that was I thought that was pretty impressive. This kid this guy's very pesky. He kind of reminds me of he's kind of a slap hitter, kind of like a Brett Gardner, Dustin Pedroia type of player. He just he just hits. And I got to admire that. And like I said, he's actually older. He's older than me. Actually, he's 29, but he just came up this year. And it looks like he could be a big part of the Rays for 2025. So we'll see. I mean, I obviously know he's going to cool off. No one's going to hit 500 in a season, but still a very good start for Mr. Mangum. So nice job to him. And who is not hot to start the 2025 season? Can I pick a team in particular?
You can't. Well, actually, that's actually a good idea. You can do that if you want to. I was kind of looking more directly for players.
We can do the players, yeah. So I guess for a player, right now, there's just a lot of guys who are off to ice cold starts right now. But if I had to pick anybody, I will go with I'll go with Kristian Yelich. He's off to kind of a slow start with the Brewers this year. He's batting 118, so he's off to a very slow start. So not good. He did hit his first home run, and he does have 3 runs batted in, so he does have that. But he's only got 2 hits so far, so he's off to a very slow start. As are the Brewers in general. Like we mentioned, the Brewers just got mauled by the Yankees on over the opening series, but they did take 2 out of 3 from Kansas City, which is huge considering that they got their asses kicked again by the Royals on their home opener. But they were able to take the last 2 games of the series. But for the Brewers, they're kind of lacking, I think, some power in that lineup, and they really need Yelich to supply that power. So, it's so early. Take these hot or nots with a grain of salt at this point in the season. But yeah, I mean, Yelich, and Yelich needs to stay healthy. He's had a lot of injuries over the past couple of years, so he really, needs to stay on the field for the Brewers to have a good year. So yeah, I'll go. Who's hot now? Kristian Yelich.
All right. Well, that will conclude today's program for Hitting for the Cycle. Make sure to, as usual, guys, to follow us on Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB, and make sure to just follow us on our socials. But that will conclude the first week, Ryan. So, Ryan, we'll, I guess, run this back for next week, and we'll see specifically who's hot and who's not coming into next week.
Yep, sounds good.
We'll see you guys then.